dusty air clings to Budhpura. This is no ordinary village, but the last stop on a long, perilous journey that stretches from the mines of Rajasthan to the Western world. A village shaped by the cracked hands and broken dreams of those who work tirelessly, piecing together stones that the world cherishes but whose stories it chooses to ignore. The cobbles of Budhpura, smooth, weathered and perfect for western pavements and gardens, are more than just stones. They represent a vicious cycle of death, debt and despair. This is my house. My mother breaks stones and my father works in the mines, and all the people here working in the mines eventually die. As men perish deep in the mines from silicosis or mine collapses, their widows and children are forced to pick up the hammer. I am a widow working in the mines. I have daughters, and one of them is physically impaired, and I have to look after them. But we get only 1 rupee 50 paisa per stone. So there's no other option but for the children, boys and girls who have to come to work with us, or else we cannot survive. It's not just the cobbles that get shaped here, it's the lives of the voiceless who are etched in stone, breaking rocks to survive.
We are at the borders of Bundi, after which is the state of Madhya Pradesh. And the major employment in Rajasthan is only and only the mines.
The story of cobbles begins deep in the mineral-rich land of Rajasthan, where mines dot the landscape, yielding not just stones but also the livelihoods of thousands. Cobbles are 100% export-oriented business, bound for the sophisticated streets of Europe, the UK, the US and beyond. While the Western world views these cobbles as an elegant, sustainable stone, its story on the ground is far from clear. The biggest issue is traceability. Who makes these cobbles? Whose health and lives are sacrificed in the process? The supply chain is riddled with invisible workers facing low wages, poor health, and mounting debts. My name is Geeta, and I am also a silicosis patient. The government had given me a lakh of rupees, but I am still in debt. We do not get any help from the authorities.
The state of Rajasthan is dotted with mines, and the maximum revenue comes from this sector. The government should establish the Mine Labour Welfare Board for the benefit of all concerned. My name is Yograj. I have a small business in stone. Sometimes the quality of the stones are not good. The truck bringing them to the mine charges a lot. We don't get laborers on time and hence face several problems.
The problem of cobblestones or gittis as popularly known is not something new. This has been discussed some time ago at the Flemish Parliament in Europe. This has been debated and discussed in meetings organized by ILO, by UNICEF, and of course at the local level in Bundi Bhilwara in Rajasthan, India, where this problem persists. Now, what can be done to improve the situation? One is that the women engaged in this cobble making are organized and form a cooperative, and since these cobbles are all exported to the European market, if the European market decides to procure the stones directly from these cooperatives.
Rana, an Ashoka awardee and the CEO of MLPC, emphasizes that the system is broken.
Mining leases and licenses are issued by the government of Rajasthan to private enterprises and individuals. After extracting the mineral, it is the responsibility of the lessees to pay the royalty to the government, against which the government issues the royalty receipt, which is a transit permit for the mineral to move. Just like the e-Ravana, the government needs to set up a digital platform to monitor the transit of the minerals in the minor mineral industry, the small-scale industry, which just not monitors the mineral but also ensures the compliance of the labor laws and the safety standards.
The mining department focuses on royalty collection, ignoring the larger issues of value addition, conservation and workers' welfare.
I am Vishnu and we do not have a voice. And even if we do raise a voice against any wrongdoings, there is no one to listen to us.
The problems faced by the mine workers, especially the occupational safety and health, and it becomes kind of a very important document to expose the problems in sandstone mining.
Technology upgrades, better safety measures and fairer treatment are desperately needed. The government must enforce the Mine Workers Welfare Board to give these labourers an identity and a voice. Secondly, open dialogue between the government and the international businesses is essential to ensure transparency and ethical practices. A cooperative model could empower women, offering fair wages and a safer work environment while bypassing exploitative middlemen. The cobbles of Budhpura may travel thousands of miles to adorn the streets of the West, but their journey must not come at the cost of human lives. This documentary is not just a story about stones, it's a story about people, about exploitation, and about a system that has failed its most vulnerable. But it's also a story of hope. As the sun sets over Budhpura, the last echoes of hammers striking stone remind us of the price that is being paid. The question is, will we let it continue, or will we ensure that the hands shaping these stones are recognized, respected, and given the dignity they deserve?
My only wish and the request to all the stakeholders of this sandstone industry to come together and find a solution, because the women are also working in this making cobbles, the kids are working, the male are going into mines, and their earning hasn't increased, and they are getting more problems in terms of silicosis, in terms of other occupational health and safety issues.
The widows and children of Rajasthan's mining communities were never meant to bear the weight of survival in the industry. When the men perished due to occupational diseases, they were left burdened by debt, forced to shape cobbles in silence, while the world turned a blind eye. With the introduction of the EU Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, this silent exploitation has been unmasked, marking it as a violation of international human rights standards. While the directive calls for transparency and traceability, these principles have long been neglected. Even though the Rajasthan government had a mechanism under the MMCR mandating that any trade or processing beyond extraction be registered to ensure traceability, this rule was blatantly violated and the system taken for granted. No one questioned whether these stones complied with ethical sourcing standards. It is therefore time for stakeholders to act by establishing a rigorous mechanism to trace these stones right from the source at the very point of extraction. Without this, all efforts will be in vain. We can no longer allow a business model to thrive on the backs of the most vulnerable. It is time for true accountability, starting where the exploitation begins.
This hidden exploitation has gone unresolved, with false certification masking the true conditions in the cobble making industry. Now, in 2024, the time has come for decisive action. The situation demands more than mere observation. It requires immediate intervention to rehabilitate these widows and provide them with legitimate opportunities. As countries round the world champion responsible business practices, Budhpura must not be left behind. For the past 15 years, Budhpura has stood as a grim testament to the devastation wrought by silicosis, with thousands of lives lost and the village tragically dubbed as the land of widows. While reports have documented the crisis under the banner of Budhpura Ground Zero, the reality has only worsened. In an attempt to disguise forced labor and child labor, stone stocks were moved directly in front of the homes of impoverished workers, forcing men and children to toil for survival under a facade of legality. The government must urgently facilitate a platform that connects the mines, registered dealers, and both domestic and international markets. This isn't just a moral imperative, it's an opportunity to set a global example of ethical trade. By empowering the widows of Budhpura and integrating them into the legitimate business ecosystem, we can transform a tragic chapter of exploitation into one of resilience and responsible enterprise. The moment of action is now. This is not just a challenge, but a vital step towards fostering a truly responsible supply chain.
The choice is ours.